So today I want to give my final thoughts on my experience working with the Canon EOS R5. With all that out of the way, let's get started. So I'm filming this video on a mystery camera. It's not a Canon camera, nor is it a Panasonic camera. See if you can guess which camera this is. So anyway, I returned the Canon EOS R5 a few weeks ago, and I wanted to give my final thoughts on it. I worked with it for a bit here and there in some different circumstances, and what I can say about the EOS R5 is that it was a very poorly marketed camera, I think. When I first got the camera, I listened to a lot of what people were saying about the overheating, about the 8K being problematic, hard to edit with. I mean, for me, I'm perfectly fine with HQ 4K just because that does enough for my needs. It allows me to punch in and it's sharp and crisp enough with enough detail to where that's all I personally need, or even in projects. And so, I mean, I've never had a client request 6K or 8K. 4K is usually, if there is a request, maybe 4K, 4K raw, but I've never had anyone ever request anything beyond that. So for me, 8K doesn't really make any sense. But with the other features in the camera, I found it to be a very capable photo camera. Just really beautiful color representation. I don't want to use the word color science. I think it's really overused. And anyway, that's just a personal preference. But the colors in the camera are fantastic. The skin tones were just sublime. The handling of the camera was fine as well. I didn't have any ergonomic issues. The IBIS left a little bit to be desired. It felt very clunky. It felt like it warped a little bit. I found the camera to be a little bit easier to work with in terms of the codecs on the Atomos Ninja 5, and I was able to splice this footage together pretty seamlessly. Of course, there isn't any 8K as of yet for an HDMI out. Who knows if that will be implemented. However, the Canon log looks really great, and the footage overall, it's very high quality resolution. When you film with HQ 4K, 4K regular is a little bit fuzzier, a little bit softer, too soft I would say, but 4K high quality is excellent. Now I took some video of the skyline. I tested the autofocus a little bit. The autofocus is very good, much better than the Panasonic cameras. Even with the most recent firmware updates, I do find the EOS R5 to still be superior to the S5, S1, S1H in terms of the video autofocus. Stills autofocus, I would say it's pretty neck and neck. However, the autofocus comparison test I did between the two cameras, and that was the S5 with the most recent firmware and the EOS R5, I found the S5 to be a little bit too unpredictable. The problem with autofocus, and this is something that Canon does well, I think, is I actually prefer when Canon cameras lose you in autofocus because the way it loses you is very apparent and you can sort of change course very quickly, whereas you really have to know what to look for when you're dealing with Panasonic autofocus because you get that very slightly subtle background pulsing. And when that happens, you really can't unsee it once you've accustomed yourself to look for it. But for me, the Canon autofocus was preferable because when it lost me, I knew it lost me because I was completely out of focus. And in regards to the mystery camera, can you guess which camera I'm on right now? I'll give you a hint. It's the Sony a7S III with the 20mm f1.8 attached. So what do you think? Overall, I find the EOS R5 to be a very capable hybrid camera. You're able to do photos and video pretty easily. It's got very high quality. Battery life is good on the camera. There really isn't a lot to complain about aside from maybe the usability of certain features, but the autofocus is great. IBIS could use a bit of improvement. The audio attenuation on the EOS R5 is really good. It's superior to what I experienced on the S5, where the audio preamps leave a lot to be desired in camera. the EOS R5 did a really great job, even testing with like windy, snowy conditions. As you can see here, I was filming some vlogs in the blizzard. If you all paid attention to that video, it was very less than ideal circumstances. Being right by the water and you've got wind and snow coming at you, the EOS R5 did a really great job handling that audio. And the audio system I used was nothing fancy. It was the Rode Wireless Go with a lavalier. And it was just a standard lavalier that usually comes with the system. So this wasn't an extraordinary audio system, and the audio attenuation was able to handle it very, very capably on the R5. With the Lumix S5 in the past, I've replicated those conditions oftentimes, and the audio does not hold up. Even when I go into the audio preamps and I do everything correctly with the Rode Wireless Go and dial down the noise, it still doesn't quite sound good, and there's a lot of work I have to do in post-production to get the audio on the S5 to sound close to what I can do with the EOS R5 very easily. So with that, I would say the EOS R5 is a very capable hybrid camera, marketed in a very peculiar way, because even if you have a state-of-the-art computer system, the 8K files just they don't edit easily. They're not very fun to work with. You do get a higher resolution, although I would ask, what filming circumstance would you need to have 8K in the first place? So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and as always, if you found this video helpful, please give a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, comment below, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next video.